Fellow Africans, wake up. A lot of damage is happening under our nose. Libyans recently encountered devastating floods that swept their lives, infrastructure and ecosystem. The major contributor of the disaster is the 2011 war in Libya that destroyed the man-made river, international sanctions and political instability. The Sahara desert is spreading southwards at a supersonic speed. NATO must rebuild, repair and compensate Africa for the damages. Enough is enough. Please view the video for more info. Today I'm talking about the impact of climate, war, international sanctions, floods, how they have impacted on the livelihoods and investments in Libya, possible remedial action, and how Africa's unity as a continent can exert its muscle to address this and future dilemma. I'm Nathan from Fenlina Management Consultants, chief sponsor of the program known as Entrepreneurship and Sustainable Development. If you enjoy this video, kindly subscribe and give it a like. Your comments, including what more you'd like us to touch on in our next videos, will be highly appreciated. This is a report dated 15th September 2023. Climate change, civil war, and international sanctions all contributed to the devastation caused by some of Libya's worst flooding ever, researchers say. There are fears that 20,000 people have died in Libya in devastating floods that began on the 11th of September 2023. The official death toll of more than 5,000 is likely to increase. At least another 10,000 people are missing. 2 dams collapsed, releasing an estimated 30 million cubic meters of water into the city of Derna. Other towns and cities were also affected. The immediate cause was the extreme rain, the equivalent of a year's rainfall in 24 hours. The World Meteorological Organization, based in Geneva, Switzerland, recorded many areas in Libya receiving between 150 and 240 millimeters of precipitation. These are very high figures in 24 hours. Climate change, combined with the effects of Libya's 6-year civil war and subsequent crisis of governance, exacerbated the disaster. There is consensus from different scholars that the political and socio-economic situation in Libya has also contributed to the severity of the disaster. Libya was ruled by Muammar Gaddafi for decades until the Arab Spring. When he was deposed in 2011 through the NATO invasion, Libya was engulfed in a civil war and was made subject to international sanctions the same year. The country is in disarray. It currently has 2 rival governments, one in the west and one in the east, and the economy is struggling. The literature on the impact of war on infrastructure shows that if sanctions are placed in a country, maintenance of critical infrastructure cannot take place and cannot be kept up. Sooner or later, they will fail. Libya's poor infrastructure was as important as the extreme weather in creating devastation. It is likely that the dams above Derna were not constructed to high standards and not regularly maintained. Lack of maintenance is certainly one of the reasons that contributed to the disaster. If you are to face reality, the civil war and governance crisis in Libya were partly contributed by NATO. The man-made river, which was turning the desert into arable land and restoring the continent's ecosystem, was destroyed. Now, the exact opposite is happening. NATO has not shown any remorse for whatever they did, denying the Libyan populace of their right to basic services of life. Is Africa going to let NATO off the hook? Why is it that NATO is not held accountable? Is it not fair that NATO repairs the damages and rebuild whatever was destroyed? Is it not fair that NATO compensates Libya and its people for the losses that occurred as a result of the war and the natural disaster? What has NATO done so far about this devastation? Because it is to blame in the major. NATO is responsible for the destruction of the infrastructure, failure to bring back peace and stability, leading to poor business performance. Africa must demand that NATO rebuilds the entire infrastructure that was destroyed during the war in Libya, compensate the country for all the post-war damages and the devastating effects of the floods. France is part of NATO, meaning that it is partly responsible for what happened in Libya. Now it is planning to wage a war against Niger. And most surprisingly, the president of France, Macron, was part of the climate summit held in Kenya recently. Is he not ashamed that he is part of the natural disasters that are happening now? He wants to invade Niger and add more disaster to the continent. Why is ECOWAS and the African Union not in a position to see this and prevent the war? Africans, we have kept quiet for so long. We have suffered and suffered. Enough is enough. In conclusion, Libya is experiencing tough times since NATO's invasion, political instability, trade sanctions, and now floods. If we come together as Africans and demand rebuilding, reparation, and compensation for all the damages inflicted on our continent, such barbaric and inhumane behavior will stop completely. Without taking a strong stand, our ambitious dreams will not turn into reality. Africa will not be emancipated. We need success and we need prosperity. Let's work together and make Africa great. What is your comment about whether NATO should rebuild the infrastructure that they destroyed in Libya? What is your opinion about NATO compensating the Libyans for the damages inflicted on them before, during, and after the floods? What other options do you think must be taken to restore Libya to its former glory? If you have enjoyed this video, kindly remember to subscribe and give it a like. In addition, your comments and advices will be highly appreciated. Until next time, God bless you.